Disclaimer: the following video can contain spoilers.
When Santa, J.K. Simmons, is kidnapped, it's up to Callum, commander of the E.L.F, Dwayne Johnson, and a level 4 naughty lister, Jack O'Malley, Chris Evans, to find Santa and save Christmas.
4 naughty list.
At first glance, this movie could be an enjoyable watch. And while you can be entertained by the crazy and bizarre story, this movie does fall under some problems. Problems most modern movies have nowadays. One that favors spectacle, action, and profit than it does storytelling. Although several modern movies do have a form of storytelling, it isn't done very well, or at the very least, not with a lot of care to the craft. Oftentimes pushing aside story for the sake of the plot, where sure you might enjoy the movie, but it isn't one that leaves you coming back for more. It isn't about the characters and their internal journeys anymore. Instead, it is about a character and an external journey with a lot of wow factor or eye candy that makes you believe it was a good movie. In this case, the movie was enjoyable, but it wasn't a well-crafted one. Let's begin. In the past, we learned that Jack is skeptical about Santa's existence, claiming that he isn't real due to his inexplainable talent of being able to find anything or anyone. Unfortunately, that is all we get from this backstory and character development. So let's put a pin for this for later. All grown up, Jack is up to no good. Hatching a plan to repay a debt he owes, he completes a task given to him for a large amount of money. He executes it very well, demonstrating his cunning nature and his not-so-good character. At a mall in Philly 2 days before Christmas, Santa talks to kids, giving them Christmas cheer while Callum keeps a vigilant eye. The constant bickering and negativity everyone brings around this season has really weighed on Callum. He now fails to see everyone's inner child and therefore decides to resign from the E.L.F. This year being his last. He takes it with a heavy heart. Trying to make him reconsider his resignation, Santa tells him that they do it for the kids and helping the adults remember the kids they once were. Something Callum seems not to be able to see anymore. Let's put another pin on this. Before they take off, Santa Claus is kidnapped, putting Christmas in jeopardy. Jack being the only lead, Callum has no choice but to team up with Jack in order to save Christmas.
Are you telling me this clown is a level 4 naughty lister?
A level 4 naughty lister? Oh, is that funny to you?
On paper, the premise can lead to a pretty comical and enjoyable movie. But its execution is where I got upset. While it is within reason, I had mixed feelings on the whole government involvement and high-tech route this movie took. I felt it took away part of that magic this movie could have had. Mainly because the technological aspect overpowers the magical system in this universe. There was more scenes and more technology being involved other than magic, which is what the movie is kind of based on, or at least keeps bringing up.
Red 1, you are clear for takeoff.
Thanks for the escort, fellas. See you next year.
I understood its vital importance within this story. I just wasn't a fan of it because it felt uncanny, especially with all the government support. Sure, it adds to the story, it was comical, but to me it was very off-putting. Apart from that, we only get the outer shell of these characters, where part of the movie's message talks about viewing the internal aspect of these characters. To see their inner child, basically. And because we never really explored much with Jack's internal struggles, which propels his bad boy behavior, when the movie comes to a close and Callum sees Jack's inner child, I was confused. How did this journey allow Jack to overcome his past that brought back his inner child? What aspect of the journey helped resolve that? Was his inability to believe in the quote-unquote make-believe? Well, he saw some pretty wild stuff during Act 2A, so that can't be it. Was it because his burning curiosity and lack of certain quality now turned flaw was overruled because this journey allowed him to heal that wound and therefore become a better person as a result. That's what they were going for. But because we didn't get much depth in the character, it failed to captivate this message. And on Callum's side, I can say the same thing. I failed to see how this journey allowed him to see Jack's inner child once again. If throughout the journey he only held resentment and frustration towards him. Was it perhaps two scenarios where he misjudged him? During that Krampus slap game and shaking the snow globe to go after his son? Well, that's what the movie was going for. But again, it was done so in a very weak way that we only end up getting the exterior shell and not the interior nugget. Wanting to make the world a better place by punishing the naughty, Grilla, the Christmas witch, Kernan Shipka, apologies if I butchered them, intends to inflict fear on everyone in the world. All she needs is Nick's magic, to duplicate this glass kafig, a snow globe that has the ability to trap someone inside it. Getting answers from the man who brokered the deal in Jack's earlier mission, the team gets some answers. But with their new lead frozen, they go to Germany to visit Nick's brother, Krampus, Christopher Hivju. They get caught, play Krampus slaps, and escape. Only to up the antics when Dylan, Wesley Kimmel, is given a snow globe. Jack, wanting to finally do better, takes his snow globe and follows Dylan, but is now trapped. Jack has a change of hearts, and Callum saves Christmas. The end. Now at the end, I circle back to my previous statements and pins for this movie. I understand the concept and basic premise of the journey, but it still fails to resonate with me. Not only because I feel a lot of this inner conflict wasn't fully grasped by the movie, but because the movie never bothered to touch base with any of those aspects, favoring action and humorous scenes that advances the plot in an unmeaningful way.
If you win, we go to your dungeon forever. If he wins, we walk. Imbeciles. I love it.
I guess that's Hollywood's problem nowadays. The modernization of everything being full of technology and spectacle that diminishes story they are trying to tell. And one that pushes the plot in very unmeaningful ways where the movie tries to tell you that it holds significant meaning. To bring my 2 pins back, Jack's backstory wasn't explored properly. We never really got an explanation as to why he didn't believe in Santa or why he seems to resort to rash behavior. He inflicts the same resentment he felt towards his son, which yes, was resolved, but in such a lazy way. Throughout the story, we see and are told that he wants to do better, but with no actions to back that up. It is only when he shakes the glass kafig to go after his son that we see this change. But nothing happens prior or during these couple scenes that makes him want to change, that allows him to change. He just goes after his son because it's his son, where he couldn't have done that all his life or even before he went on this mission and journey, where his son invited him to a school event but chose not to do that. Granted, he was taken away on a mission, but I digress. And that pin about Callum falls under the same category. Him not being able to see the adult's inner child ties in with Jack's pin, going hand in hand, where because one pin took a lazy approach, the other pin fell like a domino. What could have been great is instead of Callum being a macho man always winning fights, I understand that the contract is kind of difficult in order to do this, but that's a separate issue. To dig deeper with Cal and his failure and flaw to see what Nick sees. That in every step of the way, he keeps getting beaten down emotionally because he wants to do things in a new way instead of going back to the older ways. Where in this darkest night, he truly cannot see it anymore. He doesn't know what to do. It's over. Until that small epiphany he gets that makes him see this. Sure, he sees it in the end, But throughout the movie, he's jumping these hurdles without really depicting his flaw or him stumbling as he fails to find Nick, which would inevitably be part of his character growth.
You're seeing it, aren't you? I knew you'd get it back.
I lost it there for a while, Nick.
He stumbles in a way that adds no growth to his character. And none of the things that adds hurdles would make Callum eventually see the inner child of an adult. In terms of Jack's character, I never really understood his whole resentment towards Santa or the make-believe, because we never really dove into his backstory. Which also begs the question, did he get coal or did he not get presents from Santa? There were no scenes between Santa and Jack that said, hey, I know I didn't give you presents long ago, but hey, thank you for saving me. Instead, it just kind of brushes that whole thing, adds no backstory, and somehow the journey resolves Jack's internal flaw and character. Which I know I sound like a broken record saying it over and over again. Overall, Red One, though enjoyable, faces problems in his story/writing. When a story doesn't take its time to fully develop characters and their internal flaws, all you get is a forgettable movie. Take into account certain contracts that prevent the viewers from surprises, then it's just another movie you put in the background while you clean your room, or a movie you look where you turn your brain off. And while there is no issue in that, and some people might actually like that, I stand by my claim that it was not a very well crafted movie. Sure, it's entertaining, but at the end of the day, we're still feeling empty, unsatisfied. At least that was my experience when watching this movie. In short, it's a silly movie that took itself seriously, creating laughable scenes instead of being a silly movie that shouldn't take itself seriously. It's the path Hollywood has been going in for so long that makes most movies they've released feel redundant, unmeaningful, and lifeless.
But anyways, those are just my thoughts. Did you enjoy the movie? Let me know what you thought about it down below, and I'll see you in the next review. Until then, God bless.